Chapter 6 Messenger of God. Islam, a complete way of life. It is the same practical character of the teaching of Prophet Muhammad that, besides giving birth to the scientific spirit, has also sanctified the daily labors and the so-called mundane affairs. The Quran says that God has created man to worship him, but the word worship has a connotation of its own. God's worship is not confined to prayer alone, but every act that is done with the purpose of winning the approval of God, and is for the benefit of humanity, comes under its purview. Islam sanctifies life and all its pursuits, provided they are performed with honesty, justice, and pure intent. It obliterates the age-long distinction between sacred and profane. The Quran says that if you eat clean things and thank God for it, it is an act of worship. It is a saying of the Prophet of Islam that a morsel of food that one places in the mouth of his wife is an act of virtue to be rewarded by God. Another tradition of the Prophet says, he who is satisfying the desire of his heart will be rewarded by God, provided the methods adopted are permissible. A person who was listening to him exclaimed, "O Prophet of God, he is answering the calls of passion. He is only satisfying the cravings of his heart." Forthwith came the reply, had he adopted the unlawful method for the satisfaction of this urge, he would have been punished. Then, why should he not be rewarded for following the right course? Right action to produce the right results. Those who believe and do good, they alone shall enter paradise. How often do these words come in the Quran? Again and again, not less than 50 times, these words are repeated. Contemplation is encouraged, but mere contemplation is not the goal. Those who believe and do nothing cannot exist in Islam. Those who believe and do wrong are inconceivable. Divine law is the law of effort and not of ideals. It chalks out for men the path of eternal progress from knowledge to action and from action to satisfaction. Sublime teachings. This new conception of religion, that it should also devote itself to the betterment of this life rather than concern itself exclusively with supermundane affairs, has led to a new orientation of moral values. Its abiding influence on the common relations of mankind in the affairs of everyday life, its deep power over the masses, its regulation of their conceptions of rights and duty, its suitability and adaptability to the ignorant savage and the wise philosopher alike, are characteristic features of the teachings of the Prophet of Islam, based on correct faith and right actions. But it should be most carefully borne in mind that this stress on good actions is not at the sacrifice of correctness of faith. While there are various schools of thought, one praising faith at the expense of deeds, another exhorting various acts to the detriment of correct belief, Islam is based on correct faith and actions. Means are as important as the end, and ends are as important as the means. It is an organic unity. Together, they live and thrive. Separate them, and they both decay and die. In Islam, faith cannot be divorced from action. Right knowledge should be transferred into right action to produce the right results. Those who believe and do good, they alone shall enter paradise. How often do these words come in the Quran? Again and again, not less than 50 times, these words are repeated. Contemplation is encouraged, but mere contemplation is not the goal. Those who believe and do nothing cannot exist in Islam. Those who believe and do wrong are inconceivable. Divine law is the law of effort and not of ideals. It chalks out for men the path of eternal progress from knowledge to action and from action to satisfaction. God, there is none like unto him. But what is the correct faith from which right action spontaneously proceeds, resulting in complete satisfaction? Here the central doctrine of Islam is the unity of God. There is no God but the one God. That is the pivot from which hangs the whole teaching and practice of Islam. He is unique not only as regards his divine being, but also as regards his divine attributes. As regards the attributes of God, Islam adopts here, as in other things too, the law of the golden mean. It avoids, on the one hand, the view of God which divests the divine being of every attribute, and rejects, on the other, the view which likens him to things material. The Quran says, on the one hand, there is nothing which is like him. On the other, it affirms that he is seeing, hearing, knowing. He is the king who is without a stain of fault or deficiency. The mighty ship of his power floats upon the ocean of justice and equity. He is the beneficent, the merciful. He is the guardian over all. Islam does not stop with this positive statement. It adds further what is its most special characteristic, the negative aspect of the problem. There is alone no one else who is guardian over anything. He is the mender of every breakage, and no one else is the mender of any breakage. He is the restorer of any loss whatsoever. There is no God but the one God, above any need. The maker of bodies, creator of souls, the Lord of the day of judgment, and in short, in the words of the Quran, say, call upon Allah, or call upon Rahman too. Whatever name you call him, it is well, for to him belong the most beautiful names. Holy Quran 17-110. He Allah it is who has created death and life, that he may test as to which of you is best indeed. And he is exalted in might, oft forgiving. Holy Quran 67-2. In spite of free will, which he enjoys to some extent, every man is born under certain circumstances, and continues to live under certain circumstances beyond his control. With regard to this, God says, according to Islam, it is my will to create any man under conditions that seem best to me. Cosmic plans finite mortals cannot fully comprehend. But I will certainly test you in prosperity as well as in adversity, in health as well as in sickness, in heights as well as in depths. My ways of testing differ from man to man, from hour to hour. In adversity, do not despair and do not resort to unlawful means. It is but a passing phase. In prosperity, do not forget God. God's gifts are given only as trusts. You are always on trial, every moment on test. In this sphere of life theirs is not to reason why, theirs is but to do and die. If you live, live in accordance with God. And if you die, die in the path of God. You may call it fatalism. But this type of fatalism is a condition of vigorous increasing effort, keeping you ever on the alert. Do not consider this temporal life on earth as the end of human existence. There is a life after death and it is eternal. Life after death is only a connecting link, a door that opens up the hidden reality of life. Every action in life, however insignificant, produces a lasting effect. It is correctly recorded somehow.